What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the podcast. Welcome in to another episode of the Triple Play Fantasy Baseball Show, a proud member of Underdog and the Underdog Fantasy family. We got the full crew tonight, Marty Party, Doc, and Lil Cheesecake. Lil Cheesecake is, I'm still loving the camera. I'm loving the computer setup. You are a changed man. Mm-hmm. You are now the man of the people because you do not cut out on us.
Yeah. But I can't get away with not saying something right before the intro every week. Like that's going to be on the YouTube where I'm just mumbling something to myself as before we're starting. And I don't realize you've hit record yet.
And that's part of the fun.
It's part of the fun. Yeah. I should pay attention more maybe.
Marty Party. I was looking at my team, and Erod has become my MVP. And we talked about this last week. I don't know what it is. He is legit the best pitcher in baseball right now. I don't know how to explain it. How do you feel watching him become the Detroit Tigers ace that has been lacking since, dare I say, Justin Verlander?
I mean, it's been a lot of fun. Even today versus the Mets, he looked really, really good. 1.81 ERA. StatCast data looks good. He's not walking people at all. Career low 5.1 walk percentage. Gotta love it. I mean, I'm shocked. Their record's actually pretty good. I don't know what's going on.
Meanwhile, the Mets were like 8-24 or something ridiculous. They're really bad. I didn't realize how bad they were until I saw a tweet about it today.
The Mets aren't 8-24.
They're close to like 500, but it's not good.
Are you sure about that? Hold on.
16-16.
Someone lied to me on Twitter. I swear I saw
that. I would be surprised if they were.
Someone literally put. I wish I could find the tweet. Someone said they were
13-17, which
that they were 8-24, and they were the worst team in the National League. Because the Cardinals only have 10 wins, if I'm not mistaken, right?
You've been living under a rock, I swear.
Yeah. Cardinals have 10. Cardinals are the worst team in the National League right now,
which is also crazy in itself. And Doc, I know you obviously are getting ready to try to watch your Nolan Ryan documentary, so we will not hold you up long tonight.
I just want to say thoughts and prayers to Kyle Wright. If you listened to his post-game press conference yesterday, he was really emotional about getting put on the IL, and just wish for a speedy recovery. 3-4 weeks, get back into it. Hope he comes back this season.
I think they should. Anybody that made a bet on him in terms of wins, they should just nullify the bet because he's not pitching enough for the bet to count. Just for his best interest and his health. Let's just not bet on his health, and let's just nullify any bet.
I hate you, David.
Well, tonight we got a fun show for you guys. We've got all our great segments. We got some new stuff here too. We always are trying to mix it up for you guys, not give you the same exact stuff each and every week. But you do know we get started with always our WOW, Players of the Week. Players that, make you look like that baseball if you're watching on YouTube. And the first player who's coming off a 3-for-4 night tonight, which those stats are not counted in here. Some of us bet a home run for him tonight, and he gave you 4 total bases instead, but no homer. But Jaren Durran over his last 7 games, again, not talking tonight, a 417, 481, 750 slash line. He's got 1 home run, 2 RBIs, 4 runs, 0 steals, but he stole 2 bases tonight. So that would actually be 2 steals if that was updated to today's game, with a very manageable 24.6% strikeout rate, 80 percentile average and max exit velocity, and the ground ball rate being only 32.5% is actually pretty decent, especially for where this guy came from and kind of what he'd been doing. So I got to ask here, LC, I know Jaren Durran, he had the prospect hype, I feel like a couple of years ago. Mm-hmm. He looks like a completely different hitter. And he's right now winning people weeks. Is he somebody that actually should be rostered rest of season, or do you think this is kind of just a short term? He'll be somebody that's on the waiver wire within a few weeks.
No, you see, he's made a change. He's showing improved strikeout rate. He's showing improved. Durran is showing improved walk rate as well. You talked about the max exit velocity. I picked him up. I spent a pretty penny on him in my TGFBI team, which has been hurting on offense. I started to tease there, And so I'm lagging in offense. I spent $98 on him because the chance for him to be that prospect breakout that he showed that he could have been coming up. Last year we were spending a lot to get him in FAAB last year. He was one of the FAAB Palooza guys last season, and I spent up for him in 2 leagues. I think he's a good solid upside bet, and I think he's a pickup in 12 and 15s with upside with that speed. And I'm glad to hear he got 2 steals and the power.
Yeah, he's definitely even just looking at his StatCast page right now, 54.8% hard hit rate. Never had even 40% hard hit rate in either of his seasons in the bigs. K rate career low, and the exit velocity a career high. The launch angle is more than double what it's been in his career. Right now it's over 16 degrees. It was barely like 7.5 the previous 2 seasons.
And that's good enough for power right there.
Mm-hmm.
You want it to be, above 15 is pretty good for power. You get guys like Harper that live around 13 and produce a lot of power. And his batting average is high right now. He's getting really good BABIP bluff, but his XBA is still 272. So that's if his batting average comes down to his XBA, that's a great batting average with the upside of the power speed combo.
Yeah, he's definitely looking like the real deal. We got our buddy Britton in the chat. Great podcast called It's Gone over at Sports Ethos. You got to make sure you check that out. So happy to see the triple play, guys. The best Durran song.
It's got to be Rio.
I don't listen to too much Durran. Which one is Rio?
Her name is Rio and she dances on the sand. That one.
Oh, okay. I know which one you're talking about.
Yeah, it's the one Govier turned into the Edwin Rios song.
My gosh.
Did you remember that? That was great.
Yeah. I need to look up all these songs. I am so bad when it comes to music.
Hungry Like the Wolf is a classic. So, and Duran's one of those that like I can't, none of these come to mind. Like the other 2 don't come to mind, but I know A View to a Kill. If I listen to it, if someone put it on, I'd be like, oh, that's it. But Duran's, that's one of those bands. I was growing, I was a kid when all these songs came out, but Hungry Like the Wolf is one of the best. But Rio, especially Doc's version, come on. Come on.
Come for the baseball, stay for Doc singing Duran. All right, next player on our list, Jack Suwinski. Emphasis on the win because he's winning you your weeks in fantasy right now. Over the last 7 days, a 238 batting average, not great, but 333 OBP, 429 slug, 1 homer, 6 RBIs, 3 steals during that time. He's got a 958 OPS with 6 home runs, 18 RBI, and 5 steals. 10 runs scored in 23 games this season. That will play his season-long statistics here. And he's been in a big part of the Pirates lineup here, Marty. Should we be taking him seriously? If you see him in a 12-team league on your waiver wire, are you picking him up?
For a 12-team league, yeah, I'd pick him up for now and just ride the wave. I mean, what I'm seeing from him, it's like Joey Gallo-esque, where the K percentage is through the roof, but he walks a ton. He's barreling the ball a ton, except for the 5 stolen bases. I mean, that's really good. 250 average, 366 OBP with the 553 slug in a top 10. Yes, top 10 offense on the Pirates. Yeah, it's been a lot of fun watching him, and he's batting every day in the fifth spot. And he's only 24 years old, so this could be him.
He is
what about
him.
10-team leagues, Martin? Would you add him?
No, he's not. I actually am in a 10-team league, as David well knows, and he is currently on the bench or the waiver wire.
Why do you still have a 10-team league?
I love my 10-team league.
No, your 10-team league doesn't love you because if it did, it wouldn't let you actually participate in those. They should be banned.
I respectfully disagree.
Too much. All right. Would you rather play in a 10-team league or a 15-team league?
If I only had one, I'd pick the 15-team league because there's more players.
That's all you need to hear right there.
Yeah, it's fun. But I like having a 10-team league because I have so many 15-team leagues. Does that make sense?
I know what you mean, but like with the 10-team leagues, I feel like there's so many studs on the waiver wire that like it almost takes some. I mean, there is strategy because you have to play the better studs, but I feel like that it's just there's too much talent. It's like when you're talking about streamers, there's like half the league you can pick from. But in like a 12-team league, it's like it's a little bit slimmer pickings, and you have to be more strategic with it in that sense.
Here's who's not rostered. Lars Newbar. These are the most owned people who aren't rostered. Lars Newbar at 63%, and then Bard, Alex Lang, Cabrian Hayes, Miranda, Flaherty. You know, Joey Meneses. If you're into that type of thing, he's been turning.
I don't know if I'm into Joey Meneses.
No.
We got our buddy Uncle Ted
league
in the chat. What's up, Uncle Ted? Do you like 10 team leagues, or do you stay 12, 15? Because 10 is too shallow for me.
This calls for a Twitter poll tomorrow morning.
A Twitter poll? It could be, yeah. Well, the only things I guess you would ask, like, do you play in 10 team leagues?
Well, yeah, we could. Okay,
fair enough. We'll move on. Nick Senzel. Yes, he's actually playing games. He's not hurt. Over his last 7 games, a 423, 483, 808 slash line. 3 home runs, 7 RBIs, 8 runs. He's got a steal and 3 walks to 2 strikeouts. He's got a 302 expected batting average, a decrease in his K rate, and a better launch angle this season. Obviously, it's a very short sample size because he did not start the year healthy, but he's been on an absolute tear for the Cincinnati Reds, and he's playing pretty much every day right now. Eric, we've been down this road before. Are you buying into Nick Senzel? Are you picking him up at least until he gets hurt again, or are you not even bothering?
That might be the first time you've called me Eric on this podcast, for the record. Here's the nice thing I'll say about Nick Senzel. He's third base eligible in addition to outfield, and that's where the buck stops. He's played 19 out of 31 games this season, so he's already shown that he's missed some time at the beginning.
Well, he missed the beginning of the season, yeah.
But that's what I'm saying. You bake it in that it's going to happen again. This is a guy that has never played more than 110 games in a season. And when you look at some of the advanced metrics, he's in the 3rd percentile of average exit velocity, max EV 52nd percentile, barrel percentage is in the 30th percentile. He has the benefit of playing in Cincinnati, and he's on a hot stretch, but this is a guy that's never hit above 256 for the season. I think this is at the tail end of his hot stretch, and I know we've said that about Taylor Larnach and Brent Rooker in previous weeks, but I think just from the sample size we've seen from Senzel, he's 28 years old. I think this is the flash of the prospect pedigree we've seen, but to expect this over the rest of the season or even a longer period of time, I wouldn't bank on it.
Yeah, I wouldn't spend a lot of FAAB on him, knowing that injuries could very well happen.
This is like an ultimate sell high candidate if you play in a 10-team league and somebody doesn't know who he is.
A lot of 10-team league mentions. Uncle Ted Talk says 10-team leagues are the hardest to win.
And Ted would know. Ted's all over the place.
Yeah, every team is essentially stacked. Britton says 10-team leagues are fun. If Britton likes it, I can't hate on it. Senzel is only 27. Nick Senzel feels like he's older than 27. His body, he's gonna have a walking cane when he's.
That's why I didn't invite him to the party last week. Marty's party. He has vertigo.
Yeah, but Marty was right to keep him in the party because he was killing it over the weekend.
But he doesn't care about his long-term health, and that's concerning.
Uncle Ted likes Ezekiel Durran, even though he has no power so far this season. Last time I checked, has he even hit a home run yet? I mean, I can check right now, but when I looked, I want to say I looked like a week ago when he hadn't homered yet.
He has 3 on the season.
I don't know. I'm thinking of Ezekiel Tovar, not Ezekiel Durran. Sorry. I got my Ezekiels mixed up.
Yeah, Tovar hit his first one just the other day. Yeah,
okay. Against the Brewers.
Yeah.
I wonder what the odds were on that one to hit a home run for him, his first of the season. Yeah, Ezekiel Duran's playing for the Rangers a lot. 3 homers, 14 RBIs, a 324 batting average. He's looking good. Elite max EV. Definitely a solid pickup. Who actually didn't make this show, but he could have made it on the hitter list, actually. But yeah, the infield outfield eligibility. Now, Uncle Ted, I was thinking of Ezekiel Tovar. That's my bad.
I was thinking of Ezekiel Elliott.
All right. Or is there another Ezekiel? I was thinking of Ezekiel Mendelson, my dog.
I was thinking of Ezekiel Bread.
All right, one of you guys have to help me out here. I can't think of another Ezekiel.
I got nothing.
Yeah. The book of Ezekiel and the Old Testament. That's where my mind goes.
Ezekiel.
You were going Ezekiel.
This is great podcast.
I give up. It will come to me. If you're in the comments, you can tell us that another Ezekiel we're forgetting here.
Yeah.
Let's talk about some pitching. And Tyler Wells of the Baltimore Orioles, first one up. Over his last 3 starts, 18 innings, 12 hits allowed, 5 earned runs, 15 strikeouts over that time. He's got a 3.34 ERA, a .77 WHIP, and a 27-6 K to walk rate over his last 25 innings. Retiring 14 of 16 at one point in his last start against the Kansas City Royals. He's a Baltimore Orioles pitcher, and I feel like that they come on this show, we talk about them, and then they suck afterwards. Doc, is that the case again with Tyler Wells?
Tyler Wells, I think, is going to be matchup dependent. He lacks the K upside. The most he has in a game is 7 this season, but the majority have been 5 and under. But you look at the good games: 6 innings against the Royals, but got the dub. He against the Tigers in February, a game I went to, 7 shutout innings. To begin the season versus the Rangers, 5 shutout innings. But against some of the tougher teams, Yankees gave up 4 earned. The Red Sox, 2 earned in 5.2 innings. So I think he's going to be matchup dependent. I do like that those are letting him pitch. He's thrown 90 or more in his last 3 games. And that's something that we've seen historically, as those have been a little bit more conservative with their starting pitching now, albeit it isn't the greatest. So they might not make it to 100. But if he's a free agent, I would add him in deeper leagues just because we see how decimated pitching has been. But I wouldn't go and blow a lot of FAAB on him if he's available.
I probably am avoiding him. He doesn't have great strikeout stuff. And again, like many Orioles pitchers, he doesn't. If you don't have great stuff and you're at a team or division like the AL East where they just hit and hit and hit. Again, maybe if you want to, like Doc said, pick him up if they're playing the Detroit Tigers. Sorry, Marty. Or if they're playing the Kansas City Royals like he just did. Or teams like that, then I could see it. But yeah, I'm not like actively trying to spend a lot of FAAB to pick him up. I agree with you, Doc. Ezekiel is quoted by Jules in Pope Fiction. So Doc, that's my Ezekiel. It's back to you.
Okay.
Good. Thanks for the help, Britton. The assist on that one. Uncle Ted says it's Bryce Miller time. And it definitely is Bryce Miller time. As goodness gracious, did his slide get deleted off of why does this always happen? I had a Bryce Miller slide and it's gone.
Boo.
Well, in the meantime, Ezekiel Jackson, professional wrestler.
Well,
to you, David.
Well, I'm looking at another. I'm going to upload the Bryce Miller slide to go with.
Can we go to Vince Velasquez then?
Yeah, we're going to talk about Vince Velasquez first. Vince Velasquez, who unfortunately left his start after 3 innings today. It was I read like a scare. It was just they said, from what I read, that they don't think it's something that's going to be serious. But before today, over his last 4 starts, 25 innings with 25 innings with 28 strikeouts, 3 earned runs allowed that time. It's his 4th straight quality start, and he has a 1.08 ERA during that span, averaging 10.1 strikeouts per 9 innings. He's also throwing his best swing and miss pitch, which is the slider, twice as much as he did last year. Those are all tangible changes that seem to be very realistic in terms of what we can expect from him. If you have a really good pitch and you're just throwing it more, that's usually going to lead to good results here. So obviously, again, he was hurt, but if he is in line for his next start, no harm, no foul. Is he somebody on the waiver wire you'd pick up?
I think he's probably hurt. He was showing diminished velocity right before, and he had labored through the previous inning battling to get out of it. So I am concerned he's hurt, especially because of the decreased velocity and the elbow rubbing that people were talking about. You know, it's been an epidemic of elbow rubbing and elbow injuries. So I am worried about it. I'm looking to see if maybe they call up Luis Ortiz, who might be another prospect pitching pickup for us in a future week if he's down. But Velasquez was looking very good. He was looking very good. He was 12 team. He was 12 team eligible. I think so. Definitely a team streamer if he's healthy, but I do think he's hurt.
We'll have to keep an eye on that. Obviously, if he's hurt, do not go worry to pick him up. This next player, though, Bryce Miller, is going to be going for a lot of FAAB. And if you were lucky enough to pick him up in your league, that's very good for you because 6 innings with 10 strikeouts only 2 hits and 1 earned run allowed, no walks in Bryce Miller's debut. As our buddy Ted Talks put in the chat, he said it is Bryce Miller time. And just like that, perfect through 5 innings in his debut, striking out 5 of the first 6 batters he's faced. Heavy fastball usage in that start, about a 70% usage. Marty Party, there's been a lot of great pitching prospects been coming up over the last few weeks. Mason Miller, Gavin Stone, Brandon Pfaadt, so many guys. Is he one of your favorites? Is he somebody you would actively put a lot of FAAB on if he's out there in a FAAB league? What are your thoughts about him long term?
He's 1A, 1B with Taj Bradley right now. And I even give him the 1A nod because he's up at this point. So I'm going to be dropping major K-ish on him this week in FAAB. Probably man, what do you guys think? Do you think he'll be 260?
I'm going to say he goes like in the high, like 190 to 200.
Man, you're not in the leagues I'm in, man. And
I think it depends on league by league, because like some people in mine are down to like the 300-400s.
Yeah.
I agree with David though.
That's like what Mason Miller was too, and he was getting a lot of hype too. I feel like that's kind of like
he went
where
for
people
323 in Glarf.
Did he really?
Yeah. So yeah, and but yeah, no, Bryce Miller. So 10 Ks over those 6 innings. The fastball upper 90s. The curveball looked good. The slider was sharp. I mean, he's the only pitcher to ever have that great of success and not win that game for a rookie debut. So that was pretty brutal. But for us who have lost, the Robbie Rays, or maybe you have Verlander, you have Scherzer, or those other 50 pitchers who are supposed to be great and they've been brutal all year, you got to be spending money on him and picking up Miller as soon as possible.
All right, Marty's putting his stamp of approval on Bryce Miller. That's the guy that he says to go get. Cheesecake, you have a fan in the chat, our guy Forrest, who I do see him in some streams, checking in with you. But he said pitching looks like a single woman over 40. That's a pretty hell of a comparison.
Jesus.
Wow, it's brutal. What are you doing?
We gotta get this guy on the show sometime.
Yeah, right. That's hilarious.
That's brutal. That's rough. Tough talk, man.
Can't have kids at that point, or most likely.
Oh my God, David.
What? You're alienating.
He went down this really weird road.
Listens to the show. Come on.
He went down this really weird road.
It's late night.
Yes, it is.
We're talking about Ezekiel's women over 40.
Yeah, this is interesting. The Oviedo was dropped. I would add him fast as Uncle.
Dropped in my 10-team league today.
You had him on your 10-team roster?
Somebody did. I didn't have him.
Are they in last place?
I don't know. I'll check.
I wouldn't be shocked. He was brutal last week. He did have diminished velocity in his last start. So if he gets that velocity back, I think he'll be okay. The Mariners are stacked with Emerson, Hancock, and Prelander as well. So that those are obviously two other good Seattle Mariners pitchers to pick up. I think Uncle Ted making his stamp that Bryce Miller is going to be this year's Strider. So,
man, we're a 5th in the season. You had to call that Strider back in March.
Forrest says we're going to have a lawsuit from the weight culture, and we will get some Bud Light that may sponsor, or sued, but Bud Light will sponsor us. If we had Bud Light sponsoring us, wouldn't that be pretty awesome?
That would be absolutely amazing.
I would drink a Bud Light every single show we did.
Why not? Yeah.
I might even drink 2 Bud Lights.
We're wandering into a social media maelstrom. Let's move on.
Keep it moving.
Oh,
Forrest, you got me on a path here. All right, let's go and let's talk about Bring Out Your Dead. Players that were hurting you this past week.
That's right.
You just want to get off your chest. So go ahead, Elsie.
Bring out your dead. Yes, sir. We are back for Bring Out Your Dead for this week on May, the first week of May. What is this? Week 6? Week 6 of the baseball season about? And, there's been a lot of hurt going on. I personally am feeling some hurt. My catchers, Danny Jansen, who I propped up, he was in my MySpace top 8, has had a rough start to his season. I can't drop him, though. There's no other catchers on the wire, man. There's nothing out there unless you like Jose Trevino. And I don't like Jose Trevino much more than Danny Jansen. Probably less still, but we're getting close. It's getting close. You guys sent in some great Bring Out Your Deads. We're going to start with the, Doc talks about Abreu, and we got our Abreu has been really rough this season, still hitting up in the lineup. We got Dusty Baker has shown some trust in the veteran. More criticism of Dusty Baker's lineups, hitting him up with Tucker back. Abreu has moved down from 4. I think I saw that recently, but he has not been hitting well. No home runs, 20 runs plus RBIs on the season, hitting 232. Abreu actually rated 618 on the player rater. Andrew brought up Abreu as well. I want to talk about Nolan Arenado, Doc's man.
I just want to say Jose Abreu has 1 home run in his last 85 games. That's crazy.
It is really nuts.
Yeah, his launch is the profile thing that started with Chicago last season has continued into this season.
He's got to cut that goatee. That's my theory.
It's the goatee. He's got to pull the ball down, hit the ball down the left field line. That's what he has to do.
Yeah, it starts with confidence by trimming that ugly facial hair.
Oh man, ugliness. It's one of the ways that you evaluate people. Do they look confident? And if so, pick them up. Nolan Arenado looks confident, but he's not been hitting well this year. He's number 308 on the player rater. But if you look at his StatCast page, all blue, only 27 runs plus RBIs, 2 home runs, 1 stolen base on the year, 2 home runs for Arenado. With his track record, you hope he picks it up. Well, he's a Cardinal, so for your fantasy team, you hope he picks them up. But you got to hold him. I feel it. That's our boy. That's Champ. That's Triple Players Ball Champ. Tony Tambo there, missing out on Arenado so far.
I real quick, LC. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, go for it.
I did hear that they were talking about he did get hit with a pitch in the World Baseball Classic on his hand, and they said he's seemed off ever since that's happened. I don't know if there's an injury that has that he's just not talking about, but he was in the WBC. He was one of the best players for the team. And that happened, I believe, towards the end of the WBC. I don't know if there's a correlation there or not.
Hands. Yeah. Hands are really important for your power. The hand injury, if obviously it's not, he's trying to play through it. If it's still hurting him, then clearly it's shown in the performance. Our man Dave Swan comes back. This is an Andrew Heaney tweet, isn't it? And man, Heaney, a lot of hope in him. He'll be great. You can't be sure how many innings you're going to get from him. His innings so far, he's been healthy. Not that great. 5.52 ERA, 1.3 WHIP on the season. Tough times. Let's see, where's the next one? And our a few other people brought up. Jesse Winker was brought up. Jesse Winker, currently no home runs on the season.
Jesse Stinker.
Jesse Stinker, as suggested last week.
Yeah.
Jesse Stinker, as suggested last week, was brought up. I lost my slide for that too. Our boy, we have Jose Ramirez brought up. He's an interesting conversation. He's 66th on the player rater, 5 home runs, 3 stolen bases. Varsho is someone who I've had. He's picked it up this week, a couple home runs this week. But Varsho was someone who was killing me. I picked him. He's one of the reasons why my TGFBI team is so poor this year as well. Yeah. But he's picked it up. 2 home runs this week at least. Also talked about Johan Oviedo. David, you brought up Johan Oviedo. His last 2 starts, 11 earned runs.
Yep. Killer.
So bueno.
Yeah. So that big beginning to the season, all that love for him came down the last 2 starts. Max Scherzer, Marty, I feel for you there. I loved the reply to your tweet of because you bringing up Max just coming back to you saying, keep talking, buddy. It was the best. But Scherzer actually having a rough start to his season, currently ranked below Heaney and Oviedo on the player rater. because of that suspension and that dog of a performance on his first game back against Detroit. Also, Gunnar Henderson, tough start to his season, but some signs he's coming back around with the bat, a little bit more punch of late. Still only 534 on the player rater. So some of these guys, of course, are not, you can't throw them on the cart yet. You're not going to throw Abreu on the cart. I wonder when your top 100 pick gets droppable. That's tough.
Mhm.
That's a tough one. Abreu's tough. Gunner's tough. If he stays down there, that's a tough hold as well. But they're tough. I think Winker, you can throw him on the cart. He's gone. We'll take him away. Oviedo's I mean, Uncle Ted likes him. I think you can drop him if you feel like it. Heaney, Texas is so good. I may put him on the bench and see if he can right the ship a little bit.
Mhm.
But we're gonna take it off this week and watch. I'll take him away, and back to you guys.
All right, a couple comments while LC was helping us clear all the dead out of our existence here. Worst beard ever, Abreu, literally $100 million man who looks homeless. Does Jose Abreu have a really bad beard?
It's bad.
Yeah,
I think it's cool.
I actually haven't seen it. I have to Google it. And he also, Uncle Ted's been driving the Dane Dunning truck for a long time now.
The David Mendelson truck.
Yeah. I need to see if Dane Dunning can keep it up. I'm not actively still looking to add him. I mean, maybe it'll bite me in the butt, but Uncle Ted, if he ends up being one of the best pickups of the year, I know who we need to go to give that shout out to. The Teoscar trade the Blue Jays made looks great. The lefty reliever is lights out right now for the Toronto Blue Jays. I'm trying to remember the name of the that reliever, who it is.
Swanson.
Yeah.
Oh,
that beard is ugly.
Thank you.
It's like I can't do that. Doc showed it to me for those listening to the podcast. No, I think it was a good trade for the Toronto Blue Jays. They were able to work that out.
So Dunning is starting next against Seattle at Seattle. I may do that.
Uncle Ted, we may have to have like a watch stream for that.
I may do that.
If he does well,
yeah.
You can gloat all you want. You would be the first to call that. Britton says put Craig Kimbrell on the.
No, we all knew Craig Kimbrell though.
Goodness gracious, he blew up.
We'll throw him on. Yeah, he's fully dead of the plague, Craig Kimbrell.
Yeah. Jen, J-Rod's been very disappointing. Juan Soto, mostly disappointing. He's heated up recently. Machado, obviously, has been disappointing. I'm just reading some of the names in the chat of just disappointing names that Matt Mervis has been called up, which we talked about on our prospect show, which is good. And then we also got to put Eric Hosmer on the cart too, LC. He's gone.
Yes.
The chat's live tonight. I can't even keep up with all the comments.
We need Mervis. We need some offense. We've been sputtering a little bit lately. Washington is shutting us down. So we've had a little bit of trouble scoring runs after our hot start. So it's time for Matt Mervis. It is time. Never nervous Matt Mervis time.
Uncle Ted said he has a braid like a butt pirate. That is pretty bad. And then Will Smith, if you need a closer, he's getting a lot of the saves right now in Texas. So again, if you want to hop in the chat at any time, if you're listening to the podcast, I try to read as many of them as that come in. It always makes the show a lot more fun. So everybody that's in the chat, we always appreciate you guys. Let's go next. Let's head a little bit to really quick, the most added and dropped players. Most added for the week, headed by our guy Brett Rooker, 2-timer on the show. I was tempted to put him on a 3rd time just to troll you guys, because he has been absolutely dominating. Added in 47% of leagues. Jack Suwinski, Tyler Wells, Tanner Bybee, Vince Velasquez, Brandon Drury, Drew Smyly, and Jaren Durran. The most dropped players being right now Robbie Ray, who actually was announced today he's getting Tommy John surgery, Kyle Bradish, Kenta Maeda, Johan Oviedo, Jake McCarthy, Jose Quijada, AJ Minter, and Dre Jameson on that list. In terms of games for next week, if you are watching, you can see the team schedules on the screen. If you are listening to the podcast, Atlanta, Boston, Toronto, and Philly all play 5 games. Every other team plays at least 6 or 7 games. So again, Atlanta, Boston, Toronto, and Philly play 5. All right. Next segment, let's go ahead and let's head over to Marty. I believe you wanted to talk about your is it going to be your Marty's Party? Is it going to be your 2-start pitchers? I don't even know the order we're doing the segments anymore, but
typically we go with the 2 starters, right?
Let's go with 2 starters.
All right, let's get cracking.
Let's do it. So this is going to be coming up your 2-start pitchers for the week of May 8th through May 14th. Starting with Gwen. Gwen, Doc was right. I didn't say hi to you last week. I'm very sorry. I hope you're doing well.
Really quick, Marty.
Yeah.
I have not looked
confessing
yet.
my love to Gwen.
Keep in mind that we have Uncle Ted in the chat, and Dane Dunning's a 2-start guy next week.
Is he?
So you're going to have to explain to him wherever you have him.
I don't know if I even have him on there, so I might have to take a look. Someone give me a schedule, and we'll do a little. We'll do it at the end where we want him. So yeah, no doubters for next week. Shane McClanahan at Baltimore at the Yanks. Logan Gilbert versus Texas at Detroit. Julio Urias at Milwaukee versus San Diego, and Logan Webb versus Washington at the Arizona Diamondbacks.
Julio Urias is a little tricky, but I approve so far. I'm loving the Logan Gilbert in there. Makes me feel good.
I think. What about Urias that stands out to you that maybe you think?
A little bit tougher schedule. I mean, when you look at the at Milwaukee and San Diego, those are 2 of the better offenses.
More worried about the park in Milwaukee. San Diego's so hit or miss, and Urias has been one of the best pitchers of the last 2 full years. He's doing well this year. xERA looks good. He's not walking people. So, yeah, we're splitting hairs. Everyone's starting him. No one's not going to start him.
He gave up 6 earned at the Pirates a couple weeks ago, then 5
that was
runs
weeks
at
ago.
Cubs before that.
That was weeks ago, Doc.
He's not a good road pitcher this year.
Moving on to the should start pitchers here. Dylan Cease at the Royals versus the Astros. Marcus Stroman versus the Cardinals at Minnesota. Hunter Brown, your boy, David, at the Angels at the White Sox. Nestor Cortez versus Oakland versus Tampa Bay. Mitch Keller versus Colorado at Baltimore. Eduardo Rodriguez, Erod now, at Cleveland versus the Mariners. And Tanner Bybee. Yes, the Bybee has made it all the way up to a should start, going against Detroit and then the Angels. And shout out to Mitch Keller. He's been my boy coming into this year, and he's done really well. So this is why you get the cute little photo of him. Look at that. Look how good he looks. Pretty good.
Confident. And Anthony DiSclafani, as Uncle Ted has been balling, is he in?
No, we don't talk positive about him.
That's like it cost you $600 or anything.
I love that you brought him up because I highlighted him on Risky Business.
I knew it, Marty. I just know these things.
He is the guy I highlighted for Risky Business next week because he has been really good lately. But at the same time, and this is closer to like the Kyle Friedland rule, like it's still Tony Disco. Like, you know what I mean? It's very hard to buy into him. But yeah, Tony Disco versus Washington at Arizona. If you're in a 15-team league, I mean, you probably really do have to start him. Maybe roll the dice on a 10 or 12, but I would stay away. Lucas Giolito versus the White Sox at Kansas City. Don't worry about the Houston thing there. Zach Eflin at Baltimore at the Yanks. Merrill Kelly versus Miami versus the Giants. Graham Ashcraft versus the Mets at Miami. Andrew Heaney versus at Mariners at Oakland, and John Gray at Mariners at Oakland as well.
I gotta say, Marty, Golden Graham Ashcraft in Risky Business. Isn't he giving up 2 earned runs or less in every start this season?
No, he hasn't. And I'm going to tell you why. Let me bring up Mr. Graham Cracker.
I'm pretty sure. I mean, if it were,
has he?
I'm pretty sure he's
in 36 innings.
This is what it was. Okay, yeah. Here's my thing. K percentage 18%, walk percentage almost 11%, xERA of almost 4. So he's clearly pitching over. You know, he's doing way better. He does not have any type of whiff pitch. He can't strike anybody out. He's done well so far, and I have him actually in multiple leagues, so I'm rooting for him. But you know, Mets, I don't like that.
Marty,
At Miami, that one's okay. I mean, maybe a should starter. I mean,
That's where I would bump him.
10-team league. Would you start him in a 12-team league?
But no one's playing in 10-team leagues.
What about a 12-team, David? Would you start him in a 12-team?
Yeah, I would.
All right.
Marty, I'm gonna have to chime in here. I like John Gray as a person. He's very respectable,
He's a
and he
good
takes
guy.
time out to talk.
John Gray's a good guy.
Wait a second. Hold on. I forgot this. Before we continue here, for those, I think it was a few weeks ago that you misspelled like 4 names wrong in the when you did this, and Uncle Ted said, "At least you spelled Eflin's name right this time."
I got it this way. You know what? When you copy and paste, you're less likely to make a mistake. And now with Eflin, I actually like what I'm seeing from him, and he's building back up. He threw 67 pitches his first time out. He threw 74 pitches last time out. Two good teams on the road. He's on a pitch count. So
I like when Lucas Giolito has to face the White Sox next week.
Yeah, don't worry about that.
And I have to air this out about John Gray. 2 strikeouts in 4 straight starts. The K minus walk percentage this year is 3.8. I don't care that he faces Oakland. He gave up, I think, 4 earned last time. Expected ERA 6.18. Like Marty, you can't have John Gray in this. He's in a take a seat till.
He's a take a seater.
So
he is a take a seater, and you know how much this pains me to say.
John, he's a fan. John's a big fan of the show.
Fangraphs actually has Dunning and Heaney as the 2 starts.
Ooh, so that's what it was.
So if Dunning does get a 2 start, would he be a risky business, or would he be? Would you put him up at a should?
I don't think there's been a point in my life where I've had him anything. I think risky business is like best case scenario usually for me with Dunning. But let's see. So he's got 20.1 innings pitched, 11 strikeouts. He's not walking people, and he's limiting hard contact, but he can't. 13.9 strikeout percentage, one of the worst strikeout pitchers in all of baseball. I'd rather not.
Yeah.
Unless you have to, I guess.
He's a risky business.
Yeah. Uncle Ted, what category would you put Dane Dunning in? Because that's your guy. Not non-bias aside, would you put him in risky business? Would you put him in should start? I'd love to see the category, because that's his guy. Eflin's definitely been a beast. Marty did misspell things a few weeks ago. That was funny for us. I think we were talking about that, making a segment. Just Marty.
Well, I was going to say, you guys may not have caught each one. I work them in, so you guys got.
Did you actually this week?
I'm not telling you when I'm going to. I'm just saying it might be part of the show.
I think you just mess with us sometimes, just so Eric.
That might be part of it too. Moving on to the take a seat. So starting these guys, no thanks. I'd rather not pitch them. Miles Michaelis at the Cubs at Boston. Eric Lauer versus the Dodgers versus the Royals. Michael Wacha at Twins at Doyers. Kyle Freeland. Yes, I'm sitting Kyle Freeland. You ever notice when I'm right about something? No, I don't get any texts from anybody saying, "Hey, dude, you know what? You were right. Kyle Freeland was really bad. That was a great call, man. I probably should have shouted you out." I get nothing like that. Let the record show. No one says it.
Marty, you don't even text me back half the time.
I'm working on it. At Kyle Freeland at Pittsburgh versus Philly. Joey Lucchesi at the Reds at Washington. Braxton Garrett. I hope no one pitched him last time out. That was brutal. At the Diamondbacks versus Cincy. Michael Lorenzen. I had people trying to tell me Michael Lorenzen was going to be good for the Tigers, and I'm glad that he's not, because I was right. At Cleveland versus the Mariners. Clark Schmidt. Sorry, Johnny. Didn't Johnny think he was going to be great this year?
I kind of like Clark Schmidt.
No, what? No, go look at his stats. You won't. Schmidt versus Oakland versus Tampa Bay. Zach Greinke versus White Sox at Milwaukee. JP Sears at the Yanks versus Rangers. Trevor Williams at the Giants versus the Mets. Jordan Lyles, White Sox at Milwaukee. Connor Siebold at Pittsburgh versus Philly. Drew Rucinski at the Yankees versus Texas. And Kyle Gibson, my boy, take a seat, versus Tampa versus Pittsburgh.
I like the list. I don't think Uncle Ted says he would put Dunning in risky business and would take him over all these names. So I think sounds like you guys are on the same page with that.
Really quick with Clark Schmidt, 5.99 xERA. He has, they're slugging the ball like crazy often.
20 strikeouts his last 3 starts, facing the Blue Jays, Rangers, and Guardians. And
they all strike out a lot. Not the Guardians, though.
And he would get the Oakland A's next week in 1 start.
Yeah, but then the Rays.
That's a risky business to me. I wish I played MLB The Show.
You used to play when it was on Xbox 360.
No, that was 2K.
I was MLB 2K.
Show since 07.
But he says you play it because you see Clark Schmidt's potential.
I do.
I'm actually about to buy a PS5, I think, that you get MLB The Show for free.
Ooh, don't tell me that.
Become a gamer again.
Doc loves a good deal.
Hell yeah.
You get like 20 free games or something.
If you buy a PS5?
I'm going to, I think. Yeah.
Oh, I'm going to.
I've been playing at work. I've been playing NCAA every day, or like not every day, but like every few days. Because like
work,
my coworkers and like whenever you have your off period, like they're like, all right, you have to go play. You have to go play your game. So like we start like you have your team and you play. The computer is they catch everything. So if you throw a pick, they'll catch it every time. So their sliders are all the way up for their catching, and their sliders are all the way up for them breaking tackles.
See, Mom and Dad, you guys were wrong. We never had to grow up. We talked fantasy baseball and we played video games at work.
Oh, it's fantastic. I haven't played video games in years, and now I've been playing like multiple times a week, just playing NCAA, and it's like fantastic. So yeah, now I want to buy a PS5. It's pretty dope.
Makes sense. Makes sense.
There's a lot of good games out there. We could do like a stream one time of like MLB The Show.
That'd be fun. I love me some FIFA too. I play FIFA. But I need to get me something. I'll have to come up to New Jersey and play video games just like I did when I was a kid.
So what we have to make a Twitch at some point. But we'll all like we'll have drinks. We'll all be like playing MLB The Show, and we could have like a stream or something like that with anybody that wants to hop in.
That sounds fun.
That'd be great.
So yeah, that'd be a good time. All right, back on track here. Let's go to Doc and let's talk about your doctor's office players. Yes.
Yeah, gotta show this good picture, because when I do, it's just breeding good luck. And last week went 3-0 with a 1.05 whip or 1.05 ERA, 1.01 whip, and 16 strikeouts in 17.2 innings. Just rolling through. So
who were your picks last weekend again? Sorry, I wanted
Erod against the O's, Vince Velasquez against the Nats, Josiah Gray against the Pirates.
Josiah Gray.
All owned in less than 50% of ESPN leagues. And the first one is going to be a softball, but Mason Miller's only owned in 9% of ESPN leagues, which is crazy. So you got to go out and get him if he's there, but he's had at least 5 Ks in every start. Faces at Kansas City, who have the second worst record, and they're 2-14 at home. Yes, you heard that correctly. 2-14 at home. I'm not jealous of the marketing person that has to pump up the crowd when it's a given that your team is losing all the time in front of their fans. And for rookies being on pitch counts, he threw 100 pitches last outing, so pretty encouraging. Then we're going to look at Mackenzie, Gore, first repeat on here, owned in 22.6% of ESPN leagues. He has a 3-2 record, which when you think about the Nationals, a pitcher actually having a winning record is kind of an anomaly. But the Nats have scored 4+ in 3 out of his 6 outings. And when you look at his baseball savant page, all 4 of his pitches that he throws have increased their velo, which is why I think we're seeing better results out of him. There was, rumors of kind of elbow soreness last season, and I think that's kind of put it behind him. Tough challenge against the Diamondbacks, but they've scored 33 runs in their last 7 home games where they've gone 3-4. They had a recent stretch in Colorado, so I'm taking out those numbers. And the last one, Todd Smyly, and you're saying, why aren't you saying Drew? Because Drew's not
wrong, Doc. You spelled Drew wrong.
Because Drew's not his first name. His name is Todd Andrew Smyly. So I'm going to call him Todd, calling him his birth name.
That's funny.
30% of 30.3% of ESPN leagues. He's gone at least 5 in 5 out of 6 games. The one he didn't was the season opener when he went 4.2. And he's in the 93rd percentile of average exit velocity. And what I've noticed a lot this year is guys like him and Wade Miley, because they don't throw as hard, they're staying healthy and they're not getting hit as hard. Drew Smyly has been relying heavily on the curveball sinker combo this year. He throws it about 93% of the time just between those 2 pitches. And he's going to face the Marlins, who scored 99 runs on the season, second lowest in the major leagues. So fire him up. Unless you're Cheesecake, you put him on your bench for the second straight time.
There you go. And it's on his team too.
Oh man.
Uncle Ted, we are golfers here, so don't worry. We play real sports like golf. Trust me. And one thing I will bring up, Uncle Ted's brought up Bailey Ober a little bit. Are you guys liking Bailey Ober? Would you stream him?
I spent $66 on him in, I think, Galar for TGFBI, one of those leagues, and the next closest was like 26. So yeah, I think I'm pretty into him. Overspent.
Ober spent.
God damn it, David. That's a good one. I
Yeah,
overspent.
Right? 159 ERA, 10 strikeouts and 11.1 innings, 1.06 whip. The walks are actually really a lot higher this year than they've been. But the expected ERA is still respectable at around a 350 expected ERA. The max EV right now is elite. He's only allowing a 104.8 max EV, top 10% in baseball. Not letting hitters barrel the ball. I think you could go a lot worse than him. I don't think Bailey Ober is a bad player to add or stream.
David, I want to ask you real quick. I'm putting you on the spot here, but about Hunter Brown. So I was doing some digging on him. Are you aware that his slider went from his least thrown pitch to now his most thrown pitch? He used it 13% of the time last year. Now it's nearly 35% of the time. Have you ever seen anything like that, where a guy completely introverts or flips his whole arsenal, and then he actually has more success? I just thought that was interesting. Didn't know if you've been looking under his hood lately since he's your boy.
Yeah, I forgot which podcast I heard them mention that, and I kind of thought it was interesting. I'm sure there's other players that have done it before, but like just looking at his profile and what he did last year compared to this year, like last year he didn't really have an elite whiff pitch. Like the slider last year, 26 points, the curveball last year, 30.4% whiff rate. That was his best. This year, the slider's kind of taken that role, 29.4%. So right around that. But he needs whiffs, and like all the other pitches are not doing it. So I'm guessing that he wanted to try to get more strikeouts, miss more bats. And that's why he went with the slider, because that's what the slider does.
Probably with a more extended pitch count, he's actually able to pitch to more strikeouts. So the Astros, man, they know how to develop. It's just great. I just thought that was cool.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting. And the ground ball rate is still actually very good, even though it's down from last year. There's a lot of things to still like in his profile, even though he hasn't been as consistent as we'd like.
Yeah, his walks are a little high. What is it? 10.7. That needs to get down.
Yeah. And Bailey Ober is 6'8". I forgot he is also very tall. So that's always the ball comes out differently.
Bailey Ogre.
I got him. I got him for 36 with the backup bid of 35 in DARF. No, in one of my 12-team leagues last week. And that was closest win I've had all season. It felt really good. Those $1 wins feel super good.
Mm-hmm.
I muted myself, and that might have been the funniest thing Marty said on this pod.
Bailey Ogre. Hunter Brown is the second fastest slider in baseball, only to DeGrom. That's interesting. I didn't know that.
Watch that elbow, son.
Yeah, that would be scared about his elbow. Is Forrest Whitley going to come finally? I'm like, even if he does, I don't think there's anything there. Forrest Whitley is damaged goods at this point to me. All right, let's go and let's Marty, you have your Marty's party this week.
Yeah, let's go to the party here. Where are we at? Here we are. There I am at a nice young age. Marty's party. Okay, one of these guys looks pretty familiar. So, do we just skip over? I think Jaren's going to go to the party. We're just going to skip over that. We already know he's going to the party, so it's between these two. Carlos Santana versus Toronto Blue Jays. The old man, dude. I know you don't. It kind of brings the vibe down, inviting the older guy to the party, but I think he brings a lot. I think he'll bring a lot of maturity to it. Santana slashing 278, 355, 790 on the Pirates. He has 108 at bats. He's playing nearly every single day. Home versus Toronto. Like I said, it's an really improved Pirates offense. And then Elias Diaz, the catcher for the Rockies. So this is the first time a catcher has possibly been invited to the party. Dude, he's been killing it. He's only 38% rostered. He's batting 347, 3 home runs, 14 RBI, and we know he plays half his games at Coors. So for this weekend, is Carlos Santana coming to the party, or are we finally going to invite a catcher? David, who do you want?
I can tell you
Durran,
this.
he's already going.
I can tell you this. Carlos Santana being there means LC is going to be there because they're a package deal. That is his boy.
I didn't know that.
Oh yeah,
He's
a Carlos Santana stan.
All right, Doc.
So I'm gonna do this the entire season of not actually look into numbers and just give narratives of why you would or wouldn't want someone there. And Carlos Santana smashed a television when he was with the Phillies in 2019 because they played Fortnite during a game, and you wouldn't want somebody potentially breaking a TV of yours, so you're inviting Elias Diaz.
That's good. I didn't know that. That's good. Art?
I love that you put a catcher up here. When I saw that you had a catcher as potentially coming this weekend, I thought you can't put a catcher up there and then not invite him. That's like doubly cruel. But I'd have more faith in Santana than Diaz on the road. So I'm going to go with Santana.
Art, you're using your brain, and we appreciate that, but that is not what Marty's Party is for. Yeah, I had to bring the catcher, man. Elias Diaz. He's been absolutely incredible for you, though. 12, 15 team leagues. He's probably still on the wire there, unless you're like, you want like the long, like the NFBCs. But yeah, Diaz and Durran, you guys are going to the party.
All right.
And to bring up Forrest's point, no, it's not because Carlos Santana played Fortnite. He was angry that other players were playing Fortnite during a game.
He's a party pooper.
Yeah, exactly. And I know, Marty, I feel like I'm the bouncer. I'm only 5'5", 135, but damn it, I feel like the bouncer at this party.
I thought you were heavier than that. You're 135?
Maybe like 137 on a good day.
I thought you were like 140 or 145.
You know what? That's what happens when you decrease your alcohol. You lose a couple pounds.
I didn't know you were decreasing your alcohol, though, either.
And that's what happens when you have a girlfriend.
Fair enough. All right, I think we're on Doc's best bets, and then we'll finish out the night with a little bit of a round table. So go ahead, Doc.
Yeah, so just one best bet this week. And this is going to be if you have DraftKings. Right now, it's the Yankees to miss the playoffs at plus 195. And this was much greater odds before the season started, but I still think there's value there. Carlos Rodon had a setback with his back. Who knows if he pitches again this year? Aaron Judge is on the IL with a hip issue. Right now, the Yankees have played 19 home games, 13 on the road, where they're 6-7. And right now, they're last in the AL East. And let me tell you, if anything happens to Garrett Cole, that he's like the glue that's holding that team together as the SP1. If he gets hurt for some reason, that team is in the toilet. No closer right now. Clay Holmes might be removed from there. Nestor Cortez has strep throat.
Michael King, baby.
Michael King. So I think right now, if you can get the Yankees missing the playoffs at plus money, that's good value.
All right. Thank you, Doc. And now we have never done this segment before. It's going to be a roundtable. So we are axing the bullpen segment because we have a friend named Dr. Mike Carter who does bullpens on our network when he does the fantasy baseball beat. And we don't want to cross wires. We want to make sure Mike is one of the best that do it. So we want to make sure if you guys are tuning into this network that you guys listen to his bullpen advice. So we're going to mix in some other different things on this show. One of these this week is going to be the roundtable to close it out. So LC, you are heading the roundtable. You could say at the head of the table here, leading the roundtable. So what are we talking about?
Yeah, I just realized that King Arthur had a roundtable. So hey, I love that.
King
I
Arthur's
love
round table. I mean,
well, yeah.
This just makes sense.
Man, this is something I've been aiming for my whole life. I wanted to be King Arthur since I was about 4. This is the one thing when you grow up, your name is Art. There's not a lot of things to hold on to. Like I had Art Monk and King Arthur.
Arthur the Aardvark.
Arthur the Aardvark. Yeah, I was a little bit old for Arthur the Aardvark, but I was not too old for Arthur Rhodes, the left-handed relief pitcher, who was props to Arthur Rhodes, the left-handed relief pitcher. But the roundtable is something that we came up with. We wanted to, there are topics, and now this week everybody's talking about the rookie starting pitchers and how much their debuts are causing a stir on your FAAB bids. All the podcasts are talking about this. One thing I wanted to talk about, and I think we'll start with this, because a lot of our listeners don't play in FAAB leagues, or they play in traditional CBS, they play in traditional ESPN or other sort of fastest finger leagues, head-to-head categories, or points leagues. Our home league is a points league, and I wanted to kind of point out that a lot of these, I wanted to put it to the round table, to all of you guys. How would you compare, let's say, just starting off, like a points league got pickup of a guy like Tanner Bybee, or a pickup like Bryce Miller, or any of the other youngs, Louis Varland, Brandon Pfaadt, versus when you have weekly pickups on something like a FAAB league?
So how am I looking at them differently in FAAB compared to just picking them off the waiver wire?
Yeah, like where you can pick them up and drop them and maybe pick them up again. Would you auto pick up a rookie, or would you wait for them? Would you have auto picked up? Did you guys start Brandon Pfaadt in any of your first? Like, let me look at the rookie debuts this week.
Yeah,
few of the rookies. So Gavin Stone pitched against Philadelphia, only went 4 innings, giving up 8 hits and 4 earned runs. Brandon Pfaadt gave up 7 earned runs. Louis Varland, 3 of the big pickups this week, three of the big debuts this week. Varland, this is his second start, but he gave up 4 earned runs after a good start against the Yankees. These guys are going to be, a couple of these guys going to be coming up for big money in FAAB this week. If you're in a fastest finger league, do you think it's best to wait a start, or does the excitement get you? What do you guys think? Would you guys throw them out there? Did you guys like Pfaadt against the Rangers?
I think that's a good question. Here's the way I do it. Would you call them the fastest finger leagues? I like that.
Yeah.
I pick them up right away, whether it's a 10, 12 team league, because, and especially this year, there's been so many blowups. There's so many team ERAs are like 5.0 or 4.50. You just need anybody that could possibly have that upside. And so I may not the smaller the league, the smaller chance I'm actually going to start them, but I'm definitely picking them up. And in 15 team leagues, I'm one of those people every single week trying to pick up one of those new rookie pitchers just to see if you can get lightning in a bottle, because I am like jammed up with injuries and just underperforming starting pitchers. So yeah, I'm super aggressive this year on that, and usually I'm not, but this year for sure.
Yeah, I'm with Cheesecake to answer the first part of your question when you said, is it different from a points league like we play in that has two shallow bench spots? And it's, do you want to reserve those guys? And the thing about a points league too is you don't have to base it off certain categories. You could pick up someone like a Josh Fleming that's a piggyback that can get you the win, and maybe you didn't know that he was going to come in the second, but you knew that he was going to get a decent amount of the innings. So I'm less likely to pick up the guys in that league, especially if you do have a transaction limit like we do. But the 15-team ones, I do think you have to be more aggressive on. When you even think about, just like from the perspective of a lot of teams that we thought were going to be really good, the Dodgers, the Astros, pitchers that you probably overdrafted because you thought that they would get wins on a good team, haven't been performing so far. So wins are just that much more valuable.
I feel like, to put it simply, you probably have 1 or 2 roster spots that are very flexible, of guys who are either streaming or guys that are on a very thin leash, short leash. And if you see one of those rookies come up, you're trying to take a shot on them, because if they end up becoming like a Spencer Strider, or, even not even necessarily that, but, something that's like where you have to roster, or George Kirby, or like something like that, you have to take the chance. So fastest finger leagues, those players are getting picked up instantly. And then in FAAB leagues, like, that's why they do, and especially if they have high strikeout numbers. Like, that's, to me, the biggest thing I look at for when I'm looking at spending FAAB for minor leaguers, is like, what are their, like, what's their K per 9? Like, what's their swinging strike rates in AAA or AA if they're getting called up from there? Like, are they absolutely dominating the competition, or do they just have like a good ERA? because bat missing, I think, is the best thing to look at when you're trying to pick up pitching prospects, because that's going to be what translates the best to the bigs, as we saw with Mason Miller, who's been okay so far. Obviously, Bryce Miller in his first start looked really good. I want that type of upside from pitching prospects. I don't want the ones that are going to come in like Matthew Liberatore from years past, where he had I think barely under a K per nine in AAA. And he came in the bigs and he wasn't striking anybody out and he was awful. And he's looked better this year in AAA, but you have to know what I think you want to look for in prospects you're going to take a chance on.
Yeah, and it's interesting. One of the points that I wanted to kind of tease out here about FAAB bidding as well. I think we want to say that if you're in a fastest finger league, if you're in a points league or something, you want one of these. You want a prospect. You want to be trying to get that. Maybe not everyone. Don't go in on everyone. Pick one. Try to get them on your roster. In a FAAB league, it's interesting. This is a marketplace that we have imperfect information. And we have no set prices on how much we pay for it. It's a blind bid. It's Taj was the first one. That kind of sets the market. Then you kind of base off of Taj. Then we come to last weekend. Last weekend in the main event, which is the obviously the highest pressure, the most money involved league, Tanner Bybee. Average bid was 323. His teammate Logan Allen 199 as an average bid in over 50 leagues. Louis Varland was picked up in a lot of leagues. Average bid of 71. Now Varland, I play in a couple of 15 team leagues and a couple of 12 leagues, and I don't play in the main event, but the prices in TGFBI and in my DARF, in my Earth League, in DARF, we're in the high ones and low twos. I had a few 300s. I think I had the highest bid was 245 for Taj. I think there was a couple 200 bids, but you're going to have to get money. These are put money out now. Funds are down for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
But we have now another one coming out, Bryce Miller. As you said, David, he might be the best one of the bunch, especially since Taj is not in the bigs. Your funds are down a little bit. Maybe you've spent $98 on Jaren Durran like I did. Maybe you spent $110 on a closer or something that you needed early in the season. At this point, are you guys thinking I got to base my bids off of the winning bids for these guys before? Or are you thinking more in relation, saving money, I'm going to bid a percentage, and because there's going to be there might be a couple more of these bid periods later in the season?
For me, I'm more aggressive right now, and the reason being is that there's more season, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you can get a pitcher now, even if they go 80 to 100 innings, I mean, that's the rest of the season pretty much at this point. So I'm fully in, and anybody, I don't know. Was there 2, 3, 4 more weeks of prospects coming up? And I don't know if there's any bigger ones coming up after Miller. So for me, I'm all in this weekend. Catch me spending money. I'm going to be spending money like crazy. I guarantee I spend close to 300 on Miller this weekend.
And I
hear that, Marty's teammates outbid him.
I spent 198 on Mason Miller.
Mm-hmm.
I have a little over half my FAAB left in TGFBI, which is the only FAAB league I'm doing this year. So that I've been a little bit more aggressive, like Marty said earlier, more season left. A lot of times, the better prospects are getting called up earlier, too. So, later on in the season, that's not always the case. So, definitely, I'm echoing what Marty says too. And as Uncle Ted says, take more chances on the players way sooner before they hit the mainstream.
Yeah, and that's one of the things. Go ahead, Doc.
I want to kind of piggyback off a point because you brought up that Taj Bradley was the first one to get called up, and that's a guy that I spent, I think, 213 on in FAAB because I was aggressive right away. But I think it's important to, and this is a lesson that I've learned because he got demoted, is team context. That people were surprised, but I think when you realize that it was the Rays doing that, I mean, he went 3-0 and struck out 23 batters in 15 innings in his time. He did nothing to get demoted, but they wanted to, quote unquote, manage, his service timer. They said that there was things he needed to work on in the minors. Maybe something to think about with Mason Miller is like if the A's are out of contention and they want to control his service time for another bit, they might have him pitch every fifth or every sixth day. Maybe they demote him. Maybe they skip an outing. So I think you have to figure out the team context also.
Yeah, I think that played a role in Tanner Bybee being a bit more expensive. Well, one, because there are less of these players to come up, as we've talked about. It's a scarce resource that's becoming scarcer and scarcer with each prospect that gets bid on. And Miller, of course, being so good in his first start, people might think this is my last chance to get one of these guys. But, we talked about earlier, Luis Ortiz coming up next week. He's not on this level. But there's other pitchers to come up. The problem is everyone's been looking at the waiver wire, and not a lot there in the veterans. There's not streamers there. Marty said, Marty knows. He looks at the two-start pitchers every week. There's nothing to get. So, these guys are the ones you get. These guys are the ones who look like they're the only ones who might have some upside.
No, I agree. I think you're kind of tantalized the chance that they could be the pitcher that you add on your team that makes the entire difference. So I can understand it. And it's a real thing. That's why, that I think what becomes the most exciting thing for fantasy is like, who's the next breakout? Like again, last year, Spencer Strider, picked him up early, kept it up all year, was the pitch, but basically the breakout pitcher of the season. Everybody wants that. Everybody wants to especially if they feel like they can tell who it's going to be based on, Mason Miller was called that by many people. So that you hear that by a few people, and then everybody's going crazy throwing a third of their FAAB out there. So yeah.
Yeah. And so now you look at look at the next starts. I pulled up a lot of the big ones that have come up. Louis Varland has I think, scheduled for a two-step, San Diego and Cubs maybe next week. He might pull that two-step. Tanner Bybee, Detroit and the Angels. Logan Allen has Minnesota and the Angels. So these are the next starts. Mason Miller, who battled Bryce, had a no-hitter going in that game. Mason Miller looks legit, like you said. Brandon Pfaadt, they're gonna give him a chance to right the ship. I know that he really got lit up, and they had no trouble seeing his pitches and smoking it. Something like 10 balls were hit over 100 miles per hour against him in his first start.
It was brutal. They were just waiting on the slider. It was brutal.
Yeah, I saw. They were talking about that on in this league. Yeah. And Stone has the next start, I think, at Milwaukee. I think is the other one there. So do you guys think now about Stone? Stone's someone who you might be bidding on this weekend, but he came up, didn't look that great. But there's still some confidence in him. He has a good sinker. He throws a splitter, I think, as well. He might be an inconsistent guy, but perhaps a team streamer with that team context. Or what do you guys think? A small bid on Stone after that start?
I would throw down, if you need somebody, I'd say, like $20-$30 and just see if you get them.
Yeah,
maybe
more.
not start them until you see something. But yeah, because last time I was pretty brutal, but it's the Dodgers, and the Dodgers we trust, man. More so that team than most others, right? Where I would they'll work on them.
Yeah, Syndergaard hasn't looked good in that rotation. He might have a chance to get something. Pepio is not back from the IL yet.
Kershaw will get hurt at some point,
or they'll rest him too. They'll keep him fresh for the playoffs. They'll give him a phantom IL stint.
Yeah, so Stone, someone you might, I don't know, and yeah, maybe you get it. Maybe you're not too in need. Throw a couple bucks, throw 10, 11. I like the odd numbers, 13. I don't hate that. He has some potential. He had a tough first start. Gave up a real tough first start against Philadelphia, but Philadelphia is no pushover. So I might be he might be someone like a consolation prize if you're going in this Miller this weekend and you don't end up with Miller. But there's like some of these guys like Rob DiPietro. I remember he put out a tweet where it was like, Mason Miller wasn't drafted in any draft champions coming into this year. We didn't know anything about some of these guys. Yep. What about keeping 200 aside for a late season, maybe 150 aside for a late season hammer that you can get a big bid in later? What do you guys think about?
How deep?
Like saying you're one of your 15 team leagues.
No, I'm sorry. Like how deep into the season? Like what month do we?
August for maybe trade deadline. You want to have a big.
Yeah, I would spend it.
Yeah, maybe you need a closer in August. Maybe there's a trade deadline pickup. I don't know. You want to definitely have money at the end of the season. You want to have $100 for the last month, maybe at least.
I disagree with that.
I like about 100.
You can't take it to the grave with you. You got to spend it. Probably a third of the people in your league check out in the last month if they're not contending anyway.
Well, I think you want to be able to, especially if you are contending, you want to be able to make some moves the last couple of weeks. Like last season, I jumped from 5th to 2nd in my TGFBI league, and in the last like 4-day week of the season, and I made like 6 moves to improve some like saves. I think I needed saves, so I managed to pull one save, a couple saves in by picking up 6 relief pitchers, stuff like that. You want to have some money at the end to do little techniques like that, tactics like that.
I agree. That's
what I do. And that's one thing. Like I'm getting more reps in these FAAB leagues, and that to me that makes sense. I'm naturally a frugal person though, so.
There we go. Well, I think that was a pretty good roundtable for this week. Appreciate everybody that was hanging out with us. We try to go about an hour, so we were a little longer today, but it was all good discussion, and we hope you guys enjoyed it. If you guys are enjoying the podcast, please make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel. Tell your friends, tell your family, anybody that likes baseball or fantasy baseball, come check us out. If you're listening to the podcast, you can find us there every single week too. Just subscribe to the Triple Play Fantasy Podcast Network. You'll get us. You'll get the Fantasy Baseball Beat, which interviews beat writers across various different teams, and you'll get people in the fantasy industry hopping on there. And then you also get the Call Up, which is our prospect pod. So many great stuff here at Triple Play Fantasy for baseball content.
All you need, baby. Get you every angle. We got you.
Exactly. I can't think of one angle we don't cover. Maybe there's not a strictly hitters pod. That'd be kind of dope. Maybe we can work that in. But I think that's gonna be it for the night. For Lil Cheesecake, for Doc, for Marty Party, I'm DMendy. We're gonna make like a bread truck and we're gonna haul these buns. We will talk to you guys week 7.